Well, my name's Kevin. Actually, Kevin Colby is my name, and my company is called Colby Creative Media. I started it a few years ago, but then last year I ended up rebranding it, changing the name of it, and doing a tighter focus. So my company focuses on marketing and strategy and media production, primarily video marketing and video production. I've worked with different companies from Sony, television and entertainment, to nonprofit organizations like the ARC of North Carolina, Agape of North Carolina. I've also worked with Deep South Entertainment, Curtis Media Group. I also co-host and produce a video podcast show called Two Guys Talking About. And I do that with my buddy, Bill Jordan. And those shows are available on Facebook and YouTube. And we also put them on LinkedIn too. We have a website, and we also do it as a podcast as well. I attended college. It's called David Lipscomb University. Actually, when I went there, it was college. They changed it years later so they could charge more money. That's just my joke. My degree was in speech communication. So the funny thing is, when I started college, I also started DJing at a local radio station. This is in Nashville, Tennessee. And I actually grew up thinking I was going to be on radio. And then a few years later, after I got out of college, I had a chance to get into television, promotion and production. So there were other colleges I could have probably gone to, like Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee State University, that were more geared for that. But the closest thing I could do, or the degree that was closest to what I was interested in, was called speech communication, and it involved a lot of public speaking. We did start a campus radio station that I helped launch, but that's what my degree's in. So the skills that I think would be really good to know, and it's changed a lot. I actually think a business course of just understanding business transactions and things like that is huge. And you say, why would I need that? Because there's even some business side that has nothing to do with the creativity that you're going to need. There's some basics that you could learn, like editing, writing, lighting, production like that. Audio's huge, and maybe not necessarily the theory of, but just the basics, like the understanding of what makes good audio and how to get it. But I also think things, especially if you're involved or interested in more creative, in things that would explore that, like a creative writing course, or even arts or things like that. As much as you can do to kind of focus in and around. I'm also a big fan of constantly learning and studying. YouTube is huge for that. And you can search out like best channels for gaming or best channels for entrepreneurs or things like that. I also think studying entrepreneurs, because a lot of what you may end up doing is creating your own business or your own work, or you work for somebody but you want to start a blog or a podcast or something like that. The best thing to do is, if you have a smartphone, is just start trying to use it. You don't have to get caught up in a lot of gear. If you've got a smartphone, it's got a camera, it's got a microphone. You can even edit on there if you want to. You can even post things. I think that would be a good way to go. Something else too, rather than web design, but just the basic understanding of how websites work, so you could create your own website, which I think is huge. Now, a lot of platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, they're already set up for you. You just create an account and then you post stuff to it. But sites like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, which is my favorite, they're really set up so if you don't code, you can figure out how to build a website. But I think just understanding the basics of basic design, layout, and some things like that, seeking out people to find, seeking out people to follow that can help in terms of finance, in terms of sales, because there is a certain part of marketing. I think also in how to network and how to sell yourself. I think schools do a good job of training you to get you to a point, but then when you actually get out there on your own, whether you've created your own business or you're freelancing or you're working for somebody and then doing something on the side or even just doing your own thing, how do you get your content seen? How do you share it with somebody? What are ways to network with folks? And I think that's something to really focus on. And you may not get that at school, but I think it's something that's really important, because once you've got something to show, it could be a drawing, it could be a podcast or whatever, then what do you do? And I think trying to figure out ways to network and make connections and what websites and platforms might be good would be something else to consider. If you're going for a job in an industry like as a filmmaker or something like that, and you just can't break through, my advice would be create content on your own. What do I mean by that? It used to be a few years ago, if you had an idea for like a story or a video or a movie and you couldn't get funding, you just couldn't make it, because maybe you didn't have the gear, you didn't have the equipment, and then if you even could get it made, maybe nobody wanted to see it because there were the big production companies and the networks. Well, now that's all changed. You can start a website, you can start a YouTube channel for free. There's other sites like Vimeo that have free plans too. So my suggestion would be, even if you can't get into the job you're looking for, or you can't get into the industry like as working for a movie studio or production company, that's fine. There's other ways to continue creating and get yourself shown and get your stuff shown out there. So I would not use it as oh well, I can't do it. I would just say I can't do it that way. Like I heard this weekend, look at obstacles more as opportunities as opposed to just stoppers. So, something else to consider too, if, you go for that dream job or something you wanted to do and you just can't get it. It's easy to look at where people are at a certain point in their career and say, wow, they've made it, or I want to do that, or, like Casey Neistat, big Casey Neistat fan. It's easy to look at him now and forget that he didn't start that way. There's a saying that goes something like this: don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle. Which means that it's easy to look at people who have made it successful, and that is different things for different people, and say, wow, look at them, and not see their 10-year journey, their 5-year journey, their lifetime journey, or their failures or things like that, especially when it gets to YouTube, because we usually just see the polished stuff and the edited stuff. So why is that important? Well, as you're building your portfolio, as you're building your career, you may have to do things for free. You may have to do things for a lot less than you think you should just to build that up. So if you walk into a place and you say, hey, I really want to work on this project, and you don't have any experience, is there another way? Can you help? Can you volunteer? They may not take interns, but it's all experience. And then that's something you can put on a resume. That's something you can put on your LinkedIn profile. It's another tool in your toolbox. So when somebody goes, well, have you ever worked on a production? Yeah, I have, and it may be that you were a grip or something, but you may be one step closer to the next job than the other person. So it's very likely you're not going to get everything you go for. It's very likely you're going to get some setbacks, but it's just a setback. That's all it is, and don't let it stop you. So I would use that as an opportunity, an obstacle to use as an opportunity. And also ask, if somebody says, well, I just don't think you're right for this. Well, is there something I could learn? Is there something I could do? I got cut once from the baseball team, and I asked the coach. I said, what was it that cut me? He said, you couldn't hit a curve. And that was it. And he didn't feel like he had enough time to teach me the mechanics of a curve, but at least then I knew if I wanted to proceed, or if I wanted to pursue a career in baseball, what I really needed to work on. So those are ways that you can continue to chase your passion and do stuff, but not let a door shutting completely kill it. And you may have a lot of doors shut, but examine it, ask questions, learn from others, be willing to do things and work hours that nobody else will to gain the experience. And then you may get some opportunities that you might not have had you just said, oh well. I've done some work that has paid nicely, and that's great. You love to pay the bills and support the family. But I think more than anything, it's when I share something I've done and it creates an emotion. Or somebody says I've exceeded their expectations, and it's not about me at that point. It's because I've given them more than they were thinking, or it helps them with their vision, or they didn't know what they wanted, so I partnered with them, and then they realized, wow. And I think that's the fun part of, and the most rewarding is for somebody to say, wow, you got it. I loved what you did. And again, yeah, it strokes your ego a little, but it goes deeper than that, because there's a lot of jobs in what I do that you could just do it for the money, and you could probably make good money. And I want to do work that matters, and I want to help other people. And I've said no to some things because I just didn't feel like I had an interest in it. So I think that's ultimately the most rewarding, is knowing that I'm doing something to help someone with their project, or even just answer questions, even if I don't maybe get the job, but I can help them. I'd rather do that than not. The most challenging part of my job is the hustle. The constant trying to figure out how to make connections with folks. Like, I joined the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce several months ago. I go to a breakfast once a month, and I've kind of set a goal that every breakfast I want to meet at least 3 or 4 people. And more about connecting rather than contacts, because anybody can collect contact lists, and I've done that. But I think that's the challenging part, is the constant trying to make sure that I'm looking, that I'm connecting with people, because from the creative side, and I don't mean this cocky, but when I get into that creative groove, and I'm coming up with the ideas and stuff like that, that comes easily for me. Doesn't mean that all the ideas are great, but I don't tend to struggle with that. And again, there's days where it's like, holy crap, I can't even come up with an idea. But that seems to come easy. The challenge is more of just the constant looking and looking and looking, because when I'm doing that, I'm not creating, I'm not editing, I'm having to focus more on the business side of it. So I would say that's been the most challenging. And coupled with when some folks have asked for, you've met with them, they've asked for proposals, you give it to them, and then they say, yeah, we're just going to pass for now. And a lot of times it's budget, or a lot of times they're just not ready. So you kind of feel like you've spun your wheels a little, but that's part of the freelance game too. What characteristics has made me successful? I think a big one is being inquisitive. In fact, one of the things I've kind of adopted that actually came from my daughter, but I think it spoke to me on so many levels, is one day when she said, explore your wonder. I wonder about a lot of stuff. I ask a lot of questions. I used to get knocked sometimes, believe it or not, because I asked too many questions. But that's how I learn. And I think that's been part of it, is, well, why do we do this, and how do we do this, and can I try this? And not be afraid to ask a question when I simply don't understand. I'm a really, really good editor, but I'm not the best out there, and I'll still get stumped on something, and I have to look it out. Oh, that's how I do it. So I think besides being inquisitive is initiative, being willing to do. When I started at a television station in Raleigh, I wanted to do stuff, and when I started, everything got assigned. And I would say, well, I'll do that. Can I work on that? Because I knew the more I got to do, the more I was creating, and the more I was growing, and the more I'd be critiqued. And I didn't do it to impress anybody. I just did it because I wanted to. I think other skills, though, has been, for me personally, is knowing how to edit and write and shoot and light and be a storyteller. I have the ability to see a bigger story, but then what is the smaller story coming out of that? And a lot of times you do that when you have to pull out, sound bites and things from a larger interview. So I think that has helped me, being able to sit down with a 30-minute interview and find the 3 to 4 minute story in there that hopefully you'll connect with on an emotional level. Because if you don't connect with it, it doesn't matter about me. You've got to connect with it. And I think, honestly, just being a people person. I love people. I like being around people. I like meeting. people. That's why I'm always intrigued with interviews and stuff like that. So I also think it's the willingness to fail and take a chance. I mean, if I never did anything because I couldn't absolutely guarantee it would work, or I was afraid it was going to fail, I wouldn't get anything done at all. The only way I can absolutely guarantee failure is never try. And I'm just not wired that way. I like to play. I've been in the media business for probably over 35 years. I actually started radio first as soon as I started college. And then about a year after I got out of college, I had a chance to work in television. And for the most part, up until about a year-ish ago, I've been in television, and it was more in promotion and marketing and media production, kind of like an inside, think of it as an advertising agency that works inside the television station where you're promoting the television station. So throughout it, I've hosted shows, I've produced shows, not only just, taped shows, but live shows that involved a massive audience and music and things like that. I've created commercial campaigns, I've led teams. We've made a lot of money. I think I added up the other day, and I can't remember exactly, when I was the creative director of the Fox affiliate in Raleigh for about 14-ish years, the team and all, we I think got nominated for over 70 awards or something like that, and won I think we won over 55 awards, and we were nominated over 75 times in 14 years. To me, it's not about the awards. It shows that people were seeing their work, and then to work with that creative team. So I've got to interview folks. I got to promote shows, do contests, make money. But all of that has been learning. I mean, and everything changed. When the technology changed with the camera gears, sometimes we changed the way we did business, if you will. When social media became so important, we started having to think of the way we promoted. When TV sometimes didn't become as watched as it used to be, then you have to still figure out a way to share your message with folks. So yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I just absolutely love the whole creative process. To me, it just never gets old, ever. As opposed to cutting grass. I hate cutting grass. So if you want something to kind of compare it. Would I recommend this career to somebody? I would, if you're really interested in creative arts, which can mean a wide load of things, and it doesn't even have to be limited. When people ask me sometimes, what do you do? I think it's tough to answer. It sounds crazy. I'm a creative. I call myself a creative dude, and they go, oh, okay, what do you do? But if somebody says I'm a plumber, you kind of have an idea. If somebody says, I'm a chef, you kind of have an idea. If somebody says I'm a mechanic, you kind of have an idea. But I'm a video producer. I'm a storyteller. I'm an audio guy. I'm a writer. I'm a vlogger. I'm a blank, 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 blank. I love playing in the creative media arts, as I call them, because it's not just bound to just a thing. So when you ask, would I suggest that, somebody get into this career, if they feel compelled to create on whatever platform they have, and that could be from painting to dancing to creating music to engineering music to doing video, I'd say yeah. I think it's the coolest thing. Video makes up so much of the way we communicate, and within video you've got audio and you've got storytelling, you've got different ways. So yeah, I would definitely say it's just a blast. It's a blast to be able to take this, whatever we're doing here, and chop it up and share it and see people's reaction. There's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. I mean, even if you blog, there's nothing like that either. Being able to put those words on paper and then know somebody can read it, and maybe they don't even like it, but they're interacting with it. So I think it's an extraordinary career choice. But I think you got to be really prepared to learn and change and adapt and put your stuff out there and have people maybe not like it, or maybe they'll love it. What advice would I give you? I would say document stuff, create. I would create something every week, not every day, and it doesn't have to be big. But I think an easy trap to fall into that I still stay stuck in is I'm going to, and I think about and I create all these notes, but I don't create anything. And sometimes we overthink it. I would say put it out there and do it. And try it. You're not really going to know what you love and what you're good at and what you want to grow at if you don't try it. If you think you want to vlog and you never try, you'll never know. It may be that you hate it. But by trying it, you may decide that, ooh, but you know what I really like is editing. So you may not like being the on-camera part. So I think the best thing you can do is try. A friend of mine says, I'll clean it up, he says it with profanity, but just hit the button. Just try it and put it out there and publish it. And if nobody ever sees it, it's okay, but you've put it out there. You publish a video to YouTube, you've published one more video than the next person who keeps thinking about it. You start a podcast, you've started a podcast. And the cool thing is now, there's so many tools out there to do these things for free, for absolutely free. You want to play around with podcast? Get the Anchor app. It's Anchor, like a weight anchor. It's free. You can do up to 5 minutes as many times as you want. People can interact with you. You can start a WordPress site for free. YouTube is free. You don't even need gear. Use your smartphone. It's just too easy not to try. But I think by documenting it and trying it and putting it out there and learning, it's absolutely, so yeah, I'd say go for it. Absolutely go for it. And you'll also find out the styles that work for you. I'm sure if I went back and looked at my early stuff, it'd be like, ugh. You know, and I've developed more of a style, and I've had people say that before, that, oh, I can tell you did that because. Sometimes I'm not sure what my style is, but other people can notice it. So if I could go back and change anything to prepare, what would I do? I would probably play more. I mean, I took a lot of chances, so I don't know what I would change. I mean, I know what I used to just call up general managers at television stations and just say, hey, look, I noticed you got an opening, or I'd love to come talk to you and stuff like that. So I just never had an issue doing that. Calling somebody up and saying, hey, can we talk? It's probably before you had coffee with people. But I think maybe some things I would do is continue to expand. So like when I really got into video, making sure that I understood cameras and lighting and not sometimes rely on other people to do that. I'm kind of a self-taught editor, but there's a lot of other aspects that I didn't know. So that's probably what I would do is widen my focus a little bit more and explore a little bit more and try platforms and maybe even get into social media a little sooner than I did. So I think that would be it, and maybe even travel a little bit more, kind of to expand it, and maybe not just stay so put, and try and get out a little bit more and do more. I love what I do. I just absolutely love it. I get a kick out of it. The cool thing about being a creative is creating. I would say if you get into this business, find a way to feed your creative spirit. Because if you always rely on somebody giving you an assignment or giving you a task or hiring you to do something, which that's all good, then you're always still, somebody else is directing your creativity, if that makes sense to a degree. Find a way to create your own stuff. And it's not like I don't care what anybody says. Maybe you don't. But being able to cultivate that and look back and say, I really like that. I think you need to like your own stuff at some point. Because if you keep putting out stuff out there and you go, wow, that's crap, I hate it, and it's not fun, you need to find something else to do. You really do. there's not one thing I've ever produced that I couldn't go back and change. That's the way I'm wired. Even if it wins an award, I'd still, wow, if I'd just maybe shortened that shot or done that. But there's stuff I've done that I'm really happy with and I like for different reasons. And I think you need to do that. You can't get into it. Well, I wouldn't get into it for the money. I'd get into it for the passion and have fun with it. And I've heard people say don't follow your passion, and I think it's crap. I think if you do things that you're not passionate about, why even do it? Why even do it? Now you may have to take some jobs because you need the money. You need to support folks, and there's nothing wrong with that. But man, life is too short not to enjoy what you're doing. It just is. So I think the passion's got to be a big part. So that's how I'll end this.
That's it.
Thank you.